Hello, my creeplings. I'm back with an interesting one. I'm not gonna lie, I saw that this had been featured on The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs recently, and it kind of brought back a memory of being in my aunt's video store and seeing the cover for this. I never actually sat down and watched it until now. So we're talking about Vamp from 1986. Yes, 1986, starring Grace Jones. This is billed as a horror comedy. Kind of wasn't either. Premise, zombie strippers. Or not zombie strippers, vampire strippers. Can't believe I said zombie strippers. Conversation I was having, or article I was reading, had a conversation in my head about it earlier. So released in July of 1986. Billed as a black horror comedy. Not a big cast list, but there are some names on this cast list. Our three male protagonists are played by Chris Makepeace, and no, I'm not making that last name up, as Keith. I think he's most known for this and Meatballs from the 80s. Robert Russler as AJ. I remember Robert Russler mostly as one of the douchebags from Weird Science. He played douchebag number 2 to Robert Downey Jr.'s douchebag number 1. He was also in the second Nightmare on Elm Street film. And then Geddy Watanabe as Duncan. Now, if you're a woman, or not even a woman, if you're a person of my age, I know a lot of women remember this one. Watching John Hughes' 16 Candles with Molly Ringwald. Yeah, everybody recognizes Geddy Watanabe as Long Duck Dong, otherwise known as the Donger. So those are our three male protagonists. We also have a young DeeDee Pfeiffer, Michelle's, I believe, little sister, as our female protagonist. Two other names, again, that show up here that are well known within the genre or pulp culture. Grace Jones plays our lead vampiress, Katrina, in a totally mute role. She makes some vocalizations like laughs and stuff, no words spoken whatsoever. Very strange. And I had a thought process about that, and maybe we'll talk about it, maybe we won't. And then Billy Drago as a character named Snow. Now, Billy Drago is another one of those I know that guy character actors. He usually plays bad guys, and he's very distinctive looking. You know him when you see him, and you're like, I know that guy. And he plays, surprise, surprise, a bad guy in this one. So we open up with Keith and AJ trying to pledge at a fraternity, and they're doing the cheesy kind of cult setup. It's bad. It is so cheesy. It goes wrong. There's a little technical difficulty, and AJ's a talker. He's almost a con man. He's so good. He manages to get the frat to give them another chance to pledge by saying, okay, you get us a stripper for the party tonight, and we'll consider you. So AJ and Mike go to Duncan, who's this very wealthy but very lonely and nerdy college classmate of theirs. They go to borrow a car from him. He ends up going with them, and they go to this seedy part of town. And on the way to the strip club, they stop at a diner where they are accosted by a gang of you'd almost think they were albinos, but they all have their normal eye color, and albinos normally have, I believe, very, very light eyes, maybe even red, because there's no coloring in the iris. I could be wrong on that. I'm not very well versed in albinism. Billy Drago's their leader. There's a little scuffle. They leave intact and end up at this after dark club, which is full of strippers. One of the waitresses / strippers, who goes by the name of Amaretto, recognizes Mark, but won't let him know where she recognizes him from. They sit and watch a couple of girls, and Katrina comes up and does her number, which is just kind of strange to me. It wasn't as entertaining as I guess it would have been in the 80s. Although Grace Jones, very statuesque, striking woman, and with the red wig they had her in and the body paint, I mean, it looked good. The performance was mediocre, but they're all entranced. So AJ he gets an audience with her and tries to convince her to, do a number for him at the party and go. Turns out he doesn't make it out alive because she feeds on him. She's the, head vamp in charge. Now AJ was the only one who had gone back. They didn't realize that he made it seem like he was alone. So when Mark goes looking for him, there's a little bit of a problem. He gets Amaretto, stupid name, to take him backstage. They're like, oh no, we haven't seen him. And then it's, oh yeah, we've seen him, but he headed off. He's gone. So he goes with her to this hotel that a lot of the strippers stay at, because she's got to get a change of clothes anyway. And they get split up. The elevator almost eats him. It's just strange. But AJ's not there. They get split up. He runs into the albino group again, and in the midst of escaping them, jumps into a diver. Jumps into a dumpster dives, and finds AJ's corpse. So we know what happened to AJ. Calls the cops. Goes back to the thing. This whole time, Duncan is sitting there getting fucking drunk and hitting on anything with tits. Just a heads up. That's how awkward he is. But when Mark calls the police, or excuse me, Keith calls the police. I keep saying Mark for some reason. And brings him back. AJ's been revived. Passes off as everything's cool. AJ goes to attack Keith, and he lets him know, yeah, this is what's going on. But when he realizes Keith won't kill him, like he killed the stripper that was in the room with him, because it kind of gives it away to Keith what's going on, AJ tries to off himself with a piece of broken furniture. So Keith, Amaretto, and Duncan flee in the car. This neighborhood is probably overrun by vampires, it seems like. There's a car chase, cars get rammed, they escape again, but they realize that Duncan has been turned as well, so they leave him to perish in the flaming car, because crosses, sunlight, and fire will do it, according to AJ. They end up escaping through the sewers where AJ had hid before. No, not AJ. Keith had hid before, running away from the gang that was following him. Amaretto finally fesses up that her real name is Allison, and she met Keith back in 5th grade during a game of spin bottle. Wow. You really expect that guy to remember that? Anyway, in the sewers, they discover a nest of vampires. They burn it. And just as they're about to escape, Katrina grabs now Allison. We'll just call her Allison because I like that better than her stage name. And goes to threaten her. She's got her the whole neck thing. And they had stopped by a pawn shop, and Keith managed to get a hold of a bow and arrow, and apparently he's pretty good because you see some shots of him early on practicing in their room. He does a little bit of like an off-brand William Tell with an apple on a table. So that's probably what, one of his hobbies is archery. So he manages to, now this is actually a very lucky shot and a very interesting effect. He gets Katrina through the mouth, staples her head back. Then they take a lead pipe and stake her ass. Still doesn't work. At this point, though, Keith realizes that they're at a bit of the sewer where if he knocks some boards out of the ceiling, the sunlight will come down, and that's what finally toasts this bitch. But before she finally goes out, smoking skeleton and all, gets up and gives him the goddamn finger. It's the funniest part of the whole damn movie. They end up, there is a fake out though, they're trapped by Katrina's consort Vlad. And just when you think he's going to get them, AJ, still alive, stakes Vlad from behind, kind of admits that he staked himself with the wrong thing. Instead of wood, the furniture piece was made of formica. And he hangs out in the sewers while Keith and Allison climb to daylight. And he's still trying to figure out, AJ is, how he can still stay in their lives by taking night classes or getting a job on the graveyard shift. This was a cheese run. I mean, I'm not going to say I want my time back, and I definitely don't, I'm glad I didn't spend money on it. I got this from the library of all places. It is a very 80s movie visually. It is very cheesy. If you want to watch a movie about vampire strippers, I would probably actually watch From Dusk Till Dawn over this, but I have a feeling that we have From Dusk Till Dawn because of this movie. I have an odd feeling that Robert Rodriguez saw this in his youth, and the idea kept bubbling in the back of his mind, and it just kind of eventually turned into, instead of two college kids looking for a stripper for a pledge run, it's two criminals hiding at the titty twister to avoid the FBI. Both stumble onto a nest of vampire strippers led by a very unique head vampiress. Yeah, I think From Dusk Till Dawn is the superior in this group, and I will probably go over that movie eventually. This was like, if you haven't seen it and you're walking into a cheese run, yes, I'd say don't spend money on it. You're not going to regret the almost 2 hours, but yeah, it's there's a reason why Joe Bob showed it on the last drive-in. I don't think I've ever mentioned Joe Bob Briggs on this video series. I grew up watching Monster Vision on TNT, and that's where I was introduced to Joe Bob. If I had the money for another streamer, I would definitely get Shudder and watch The Last Drive-In. I definitely miss that kind of stuff, and I love the fact that he's still doing it and bringing us cheesy gems like this one. This would be great to have a drunken commentary night too. Sitting there with your friends, if you imbibe, and just getting so shit-faced that you're yelling whatever at the screen. If the best ones stick, go for it. So yeah, it was okay. It's not a gem per se within its genre. Definitely don't take this one seriously, folks. Pretty to look at, but not much substance. So, on that note, you'll notice that I'm filming during the daylight. I've actually got some sunlight coming in here, so I'm going to watch movies all day today. And I'm sure you'll see more out of me because of that. But on that note, I'm done talking about Vamp. It was okay. It wasn't the greatest, but I had a few laughs. So, good night, my creeplings, and stay with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.